We're interrupting our regular programming to cross live to NATO, where the Secretary-General there is just starting to speak.
The crisis has global ramifications. Allies utterly condemned the horrific murders of civilians we have seen in Bucha and other places recently liberated from Russian control. All the facts must be established, all those responsible for these atrocities must be brought to justice, and allies are supporting efforts for an international investigation. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba thanked NATO allies for their substantial support. Allies have been doing a lot and are determined to do more, now and for the medium and longer term, to help the brave Ukrainians defend their homes and their country and push back the invading forces. Allies are also supporting and stepping up humanitarian aid and financial support. We discussed what more we will do, including cyber security assistance and providing equipment to help Ukraine protect against chemical and biological threats. Allies agreed that we should also help other partners to strengthen their resilience and shore up their ability to defend themselves, including Georgia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. For Georgia, we could increase our support through the substantial NATO-Georgia package, including in areas like situational awareness, secure communications, and cyber. For Bosnia and Herzegovina, we could develop a new defense capacity building package. Any assistance would be tailored, demand-driven, and delivered with the full consent of the countries concerned. Today, we were also joined by Georgia, Finland, Sweden, and the European Union, as well as NATO's Asia-Pacific partners, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the Republic of Korea. Because the implications of Russia's invasions are global and will be long-lasting. And what is happening in Ukraine is being closely watched around the world. We have seen that China is unwilling to condemn Russia's aggression, and Beijing has joined Moscow in questioning the right of nations to choose their own path. This is a serious challenge to us all, and it makes it even more important that we stand together to protect our values. NATO and our Asia-Pacific partners have now agreed to step up our practical and political cooperation in several areas, including cyber, new technology, and countering disinformation. We will also work more closely together in other areas such as maritime security, climate change, and resilience, because global challenges demand global solutions. Ministers also addressed our future relations with Russia. The sanctions introduced by NATO allies and our partners are unprecedented, and they are damaging President Putin's war machine. We need to continue coordinated pressure to help end this senseless war. Ministers agreed that NATO's next strategic concept must deliver a response on how we relate to Russia in the future. And for the first time, it must also take account of how China's growing influence and coercive policies affect our security. The strategic concept will be finalized for the Madrid summit in June. It will be the roadmap for the alliance's continued adaptation for the more dangerous and competitive world we live in. Finally, allies approved the charter for our Defence Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic, or DIANA. To start, it will include a network of around 60 innovation sites in North America and Europe. Working with the private sector, academia, allies will ensure that we can harness the best of new technology for transatlantic security. And with that, I'm ready to take your questions.
We'll start with Wall Street Journal, second row. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dan Michaels, Wall Street Journal. Minister Kuleba said this morning and this afternoon.
You were listening there to the Secretary-General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, speaking there just after a NATO foreign ministers meeting. Listening to that was our Brussels correspondent, Dave Keating, and he's on the line right now. Dave, what did you make of what we just heard? Confirmation, I suppose, from Stoltenberg that NATO will further support Ukraine.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we have words here that say that NATO will be supporting Ukraine with more weapons and also delivery of the weapons that they have already promised to Ukraine. The question I think that will come in the next hours, we'll get more details about what exactly that assistance is going to look like. When Ukraine's foreign minister entered this summit earlier this morning, he said Ukraine needs three things: weapons, weapons, and weapons. So are they getting all the weapons that they want? That's what we're going to see here today. But we had very strong words there from Secretary-General Stoltenberg that they understand the gravity of the situation. They have strong condemnation for the images that are coming out of Bucha and other towns that have been recently, where Russian troops have recently left, and that they are going to respond by ramping up their military support to Ukraine.
Some criticism as well from Jens Stoltenberg there, Dave, of China. What did you make of his language on Beijing?
Yeah, this is quite interesting. He has brought up China several times over the past couple of days, and that was the reason why the foreign ministers of Japan, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand were invited to this NATO summit today, because he says there are concerns about Chinese aggression, about the way that, as he put it yesterday, that China and Russia are together undermining the international rules-based order, and that this is a concern for China's neighbors in the Pacific. And so it's interesting that China is coming so much more into focus for NATO. Not everyone thinks that's a great idea. We heard the French President Emmanuel Macron 2 weeks ago after the NATO Leaders Summit note that this is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and that if it starts taking on China as part of its remit, that may be losing focus on what it was set up for. But certainly this is something that Stoltenberg is very keen to do, to insert China into the debate here and to make NATO look very much at China and Russia together as two forces potentially undermining the global world order.
All right, Dave Keating for now, live in Brussels. Thank you very much indeed.